Hello everyone. Good morning. Good evening. Let me tell you the rules and regulation for the speech competition. First, the candidates will be assessed on total 100 marks on the basis first content and substance, which is of 25 marks, orality skills, which is of 20 marks, clarity of the thought, which is of 20 marks, confidence, which is of 10 marks. Second, each participant will be given a time limit not exceeding 5 minutes to speak on the subject. A warning bell will be given after 4 minutes and a final bell will be given after 5 minutes. If the participants exceed the allotted time, then the marks will be deducted at the discriminations of the judges. Fourth, the average of the marks of awarded by the judges should be calculated. The average marks thus calculated shall be the final score of the participant candidate, on the basis of which whosoever has scored the highest will be declared as winner, and second highest scorer will be declared as a runner up of the event. Fifth, depending on the number of entries of the competition, the organizing committee may conduct preliminary rounds. Sixth, the decision of the judges are regarded the result of the competition will be the final and binding. The organizers reserves the rights to take appropriate action for any unethical, unprofessional, and immoral conduct. Seven, four participants from each panel will go in semi-final round, and apart from these eight participants, four participants from both the panels will go in a final round. Eight, and at last, the organizers' decisions regarding interpretation of rules and any other matter related to competition will be final. If there is any situation not contemplated in the rules, decision of the judges shall be the final decision. Now, let me introduce to our honorable judges of the event from panel 1. First is Sir Syed Anwar Alam sir. He is a faculty advisor of our Lolicious committee. Second, Kalpana Vishnoi ma'am. Ma'am is an assistant professor at City Law College, Jankipuram. Third, Shubham Chatterjee sir. Sir is an assistant professor at Brainware University, Kolkata. Uh, Now I will call out participants line wise. So our first participant is Bharti Kumari. भारती कुमारी, यू विल स्टार्ट. हम लोग आपके अब आप स्टार्ट करो, देन हम टाइमर सेट कर देते हैं. आपको 4 मिनट पे वार्निंग बेल दिया जाएगा. देन आफ्टर 5 मिनट्स आपको क्या कहते हैं फाइनल बेल देके यू हैव टू एंड. ओके.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. First, respected judge, teacher, and my dear friend. First of all, thank you to giving me this opportunity. My name is Bharti Kumarisa, and I am a law student. Today, I am going to speak a very special topic, a topic that tells about two major values of our constitution: equality and religious freedom. Equality. Sorry. when cons- when how these two sometimes come into conflict, when we take about uniform civil talk about uniform civil code mentioned in article 44 in our Indian constitution aims to being one common law for all citizens in our all citizen like marriage, sorry, common law for all citizens, matter like marriage, inheritance, adoption, divorce, etc. In sorry, તમે क्या देख के बोल सकती हो?
प्लीज डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम. आप बोल रहे हो, आप नर्वस मत हो प्लीज.
Okay, thank you. Uniform Civil Code mentioned in Article 44 of our Indian Constitution to aim to bring one common law for all citizens of in India, like in matters like marriage, adoption, divorce, and inheritance. The goal is simple: equal right. The goal is simple: equal treatment for all citizens, no matter what religion they follow. Let us understand Uniform Civil Code. The Uniform Civil Code real means two same set of civil law for all citizens, law for all, regardless of which religion they belong. Sorry, sir.
Bharti, only 1 minute left.
भारती, आप इतना अंडर कॉन्फिडेंट मत होइए, आपको जो समझ में आ रहा है आप बोलें। अभी 1 मिनट है।
The conflict between equality and religious freedom is possible to possible to resolve if we move forward with respectful dialogues, public participation, and a sensitive approach. We can create a uniform civil code to protect both values, a strength that soul of our constitution. We must remember the goal is not to attack any religion, but to ensure that every citizen receives equal rights. Thank you.
Okay, Bharti, your time is up. I request to our honorable judges, please give the score.
Do we have to announce them right now, or we'll have to give you?
No, sir, you don't announce right now.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so our second participant is Gang Josephine Yupyung. I'm so sorry, I'm not pronunciating your name correctly because it is very difficult. So I request you to please open your mic and start.
It's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I respected George and my fellow student. I'm Gyan Josephine Yepien. I'm studying law in India. So the Uniform Civil Code is under Article 44 of the Indian Constitution. Is a single set of laws that govern personal matters like marriage, divorce, inheritance, and adoption for all citizens, regardless of their religion or community. And the purpose and functions of the Uniform Civil Law is to bring equality and secularism among the citizens of India. If the UCC is being enforced in India, it's going to help to unite people and to unite people from different, because India is a big country and it has different religion and there are different people. So if it could enforce this law, it's going to help to unite people and to make the country more beautiful. And secondly, it's going to help to make things more easier for the judges or for the court to make rules and regulations, since it's under one law. If the country is being governed under one law, it's going to help them to make laws that are going to help to guide the people. But if it's not being enforced, it's going like India is a big city, and we have plenty of religion. So and they have their own rules and regulations that operate according to their own religion. So if UCC is being enforced in India. It could help to bring people together and gender equality. Okay, especially for the women before the amendment 2020 2005. As a female child, they were not entitled to inherit their father's property, or there were many rules that it was against the female child. But as a result of the amendment, it has helped. So if they could bring all these laws together as one single law, it's going to help to bring gender equality, and the female child could benefit. But and there are two states in India that are actually practicing this law, which is Goa and Ultra Health. Sorry, my pronunciation may be wrong. So yeah, these are in Ultra Health, they introduced it this year on the 27th of January. So there are actually case laws that it actually that is like is for the case, like the case of Indian Young Law Association versus the state of Canara. Okay, in this case, it was being said that the female child was not allowed to enter the mosque or to enter any place of worship if she's on her menstruation or if she's in her menstrual cycle, which is wrong because she's entitled to go there to go and worship her God or whatever she believes on. So if this Uniform Civil Code is being enforced as a one law in India, it's going to help to bring people together and there's no gender discrimination.
Sorry for the disturbance, but only 1 minute is left.
Okay. And in conclusions, I believe that if India can bring if every state in India can help to enforce the Uniform Civil Code, it's going to help to bring unity and all this gender equality or discrimination. It's going to reduce it and going to help India to develop the more and going to make India to be the most developed country in the world if they could enforce UCC in India. Thank you. Thank you.
15 seconds are left. If you
I'm
want,
done. Okay.
then you can speak.
Okay. It can help to reduce the inconsistencies and
Okay, your is up.
okay. Thank you.
Judges, please give a score. So our third participant is Aida Balde. Okay, please turn on your mic and start speaking.
It is not our difference that divide us, but our inability to celebrate and accept those differences. Honorable Judge, members of the opposing team, and of course, members of the proposing team and any other protocol duly and respectfully observed, I greet you all. I am Aida Balde, and in my capacity as the proposing team on the topic, the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code in the Indian Constitution. So, Honorable Judge, please allow me to give you the structure of my debate or the breakdown of my debate. So, first, I will give two valid points backed by facts, evidence, and case laws, and then I will rebut the points of my opponents if time allows, summarize, and in summary, I shall rest my case. Honorable Joyce, starting with my debate, first of my point is ensuring gender equality and justice in India. If this Uniform Civil Code is implemented in the Constitution, like the personal laws governing, marriage, divorce, their inheritance, adoption and inheritance are unequal. So women in particular face systematic discrimination, due to religious custom embedded by these laws. So we can see the Uniform Civil Code, if it is implemented, right now everybody is having personal laws. There are personal laws in India that different religion is Hindu laws,
I know 1 minute is left.
Sorry, ma'am, I lost my internet connection. A light just went off. Can I start, please?
It's okay, start speaking.
Yeah, please. Light went off. Okay. So to moving on, Honorable Speaker, sorry for that interruption. As I said, in my capacity as the proposing the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code, first on my point is the how to call it, the ensuring gender equality, justice and equality. So we know personal laws, the governing marriage, divorce, inheritance in India are different. So if a uniform civil code is implemented, I mean, everybody is accessible to one law and not different laws. Despite you being a Christian, a Muslim, a Parsi, a Jew, or whatsoever religion that you are following, everybody is answerable to one religion and not different religion. So as gender will be promoted, we can see countries like the USA, Turkey, countries that are doing well for themselves, countries that are not very, very difficult and are not under development like India, are doing well because they have a uniform civil code. And everybody is answerable to one law, whether you are a Christian, Muslim, or whatsoever religion that you are following. So you can see those countries are doing well for themselves. So who is India not to follow a uniform civil code to do well for itself too? As we can see, India is one of the biggest countries in the world. Is a secular state.
Either your time is up.
You have the Ahmad Khan versus the Sahabano Pigon, AI at 1985, Supreme
Either
Court,
your time is up.
1945. All these are cases that you know that they back the fact that there is no gender equality and justice, so as we don't have the Uniform Civil Code. We also have the Daniel Latif versus the Union of India in 2001. So moving on to my second point, Honorable Judges, which is the strengthening of secularism. If this Uniform Civil Code is implemented in the Indian Constitution, it will
Either
promote
your time is
secularism. In
up.
which accent? Let me tell you, India is a secular
Either your
is a
time
secular
is
state
up.
as the preamble of the
Aida,
Constitution.
please stop it. Your time is up now. I request judges to please scroll.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So our fourth participant is Jagjit Kaur. I request you to please open your mic and camera and start giving your speech.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jagjit Kaur. I am from Deshbhagat University, BA LLB second semester student. Today I am fond of you to discuss a topic UCC basic structure, a conflict between equality and religion. रिलीजन फ्रीडम सो पहले हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में 25 to 28 हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है, राइट टू इक्वालिटी फ्रीडम और सॉरी रिलीजन फ्रीडम की हम किसी भी धर्म को मान सकते हैं, तो ये हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट भी है। और उसके बाद जो आता है यूसीसी की यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, और सबसे पहले हम ये जानते हैं कि यूसीसी है क्या। सो यूसीसी का फुल फॉर्म है यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, और उसमें ये है कि मतलब कि है ना सिंगल सेट ऑफ लॉ एंड गवर्निंग है कि मतलब कि हमारे जैसे पर्सनल मैटर्स हो गए लाइक मैरिज, डिवोर्स, अडॉप्शन एक्सेट्रा, उसमें सभी को मतलब कि समान अधिकार मिलने चाहिए। यही है मेन मोटिव। और इसमें ये है कि सभी हमारा जो इंडिया है उसमें अलग अलग धर्म हैं, जैसे हिंदू, मुस्लिम, सिख हैं, और सभी के अलग अलग लॉ हैं। जैसे कि हिंदू का हिंदू लॉ है और मुस्लिम का मुस्लिम लॉ है, और उसी हिसाब से मैरिज के भी अलग अलग लॉ हैं, जैसे हिंदू के हिंदू मैरिज लॉ हैं और है ना मुस्लिम के मुस्लिम मैरिज लॉ हैं। और इसी के हिसाब से अलग अलग मतलब कि इनके जो क्या कहते हैं जजमेंट्स भी अलग अलग ही होते हैं। सो इसी बात पे कि है ना हमारी जो गवर्नमेंट है, सबसे पहले ये स्टार्ट हुआ था जो बीजेपी भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने जब कहा था कि जब हम रूलिंग में आएंगे तो हम 3 वादे जो हैं पूरे करेंगे। सबसे पहला था कि कश्मीर का जो स्पेशल स्टेटस है उसको एंड करना, मतलब खत्म करना, और दूसरा था राम मंदिर बनवाना, और तीसरा था यूसीसी को इम्प्लीमेंट करना। सो सबसे पहले जो 2 वादे हैं कश्मीर का स्पेशल मंदिर स्टेटस है उसको भी एंड ऑलमोस्ट कर दिया गया है, और राम मंदिर आप सबको पता है कि बन चुका है। और थर्ड है यूसीसी, उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिया गया है, जैसे कि उत्तराखंड में अभी विधानसभा में ये इम्प्लीमेंट हो चुका है, और ऐसे ही करके हमारे धीरे धीरे सभी राज्य में, सभी स्टेट्स में ये इम्प्लीमेंट हो जाएगा। और उसके बाद जो आता है कि हिंदू और मुस्लिम लॉ में हिंदूज के सबसे पहले हमारा जो केस लॉ है वो है स्टेट बम्बई वर्सेस आर्य आपका, वो है 1952 का केस। उसमें ये था कि जब एक जो मतलब कि एक मैरिज कपल थे, उनके पास एक लड़का ना हो तो वो एक सेकंड मैरिज कर सकते हैं लड़के की चाह रखने के लिए। कि उसको ऐसे था कि धर्म में ऐसे था कि अगर उसकी चिता को, चाहे वो लास्ट जो हम कहते हैं कि रिचुअल्स होते हैं, अगर उसके बेटा ना दे तो उसकी जो आत्मा है उसको मोक्ष नहीं मिलता। तो यही केस हुआ था। सो ये जो है ना जजमेंट हुई थी यहाँ पे कि जज ने ये मना कर दिया था कि ऐसे
Only
नहीं
1
हो
minute
सकता
is
है,
left.
ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है कि है ना कोई भी ऐसे शादी कर सकता है। तो ऐसे ही हमारे जो मुस्लिम लॉ है उसमें ये था कि मोहम्मद अहमद वर्सेस शाह मेहंदनी का केस था। उसमें ये था कि वो 40 इयर्स की लेडी थी, उसके 5 बच्चे थे, बट उसके हस्बैंड ने किसी और के साथ शादी कर ली थी। तो इसमें ही उसने मांगा था कि मुझे मेंटेनेंस मिलनी चाहिए, कि शादी चाहे जिससे मर्जी करे, मुझे मेंटेनेंस मिलनी चाहिए। बट उसके हस्बैंड ने यही रिट पिटिशन कोर्ट में दर्ज कर दी थी कि मैं मेंटेनेंस देने के लिए कोई भी एलिजिबल नहीं हूँ, कि मैं मेंटेनेंस नहीं दे सकता। इसीलिए यही कोर्ट ने यही कहा था कि है ना वो आपको कोई भी मेंटेनेंस नहीं देगा। उसके बाद जो अभी रिसेंट केस आया है सारला
Your time is up, Jagjit.
Jagjit, one question for you. Is there
Yes,
any
sir.
state in India जहाँ पर UCC लागू हो गया है या UCC वहाँ पर enforced है? Is there any state or place in our country?
सर उत्तराखंड।
ओके अच्छा, मान लीजिए यूसीसी ऑल ओवर इंडिया एप्लीकेबल हो जाता है, तो क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हम फेस कर सकते हैं ड्यूरिंग द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ यूसीसी यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड?
सर प्रॉब्लम तो कोई नहीं है कि अगर इम्प्लीमेंट हो भी जाता है, जैसे रियलिटी है तो इम्प्लीमेंट हो चुका है, उसमें हमें डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं है, कोई भी मतलब भेदभाव नहीं किया जा रहा कि राइट टू इक्वालिटी भी अभी इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ है राइट।
अच्छा, one last question. Is UCC violative of freedom to religion under our Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, fundamental rights?
आई कांट हियर सर, मुझे आवाज।
Am I audible now?
यस सर, यस सर।
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि यूसीसी क्या किसी भी तरीके से आप ये कह सकते हैं इट इज वॉयलेटिव ऑफ आवर फंडामेंटल राइट्स, स्पेसिफिकली आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट फ्रीडम ऑफ आवर रिलीजन?
यूसीसी तो मतलब कि राइट ही दे रहा है कि सबके राइट जब इम्प्लीमेंट करने का कि रिलीजियस फ्रीडम है, उसके हिसाब से मतलब ये हमें राइट ही दे रहा है कि सभी को बराबर सही होना चाहिए।
थैंक यू जगजीत, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर।
Jagjit, I have a question for you.
यस मैम।
Well, my basic question is, do you believe that it is only Uttarakhand who is the first in India to implement UCC, or there has been any other state apart from Uttarakhand who has already implemented UCC long before BJP brought this policy?
उत्तराखंड ही मैंने मतलब कि अभी
उत्तराखंड तो हाल ही में लागू हुआ है ना, उससे पहले भी क्या ऐसे क्या कोई राज्य रह चुका है भारत में जो पहले से ही यूसीसी को कर चुका है इम्प्लीमेंट?
मैम आई रिसेंटली नो एनी अदर स्टेट।
And another one question is that since you were telling that UCC होने से what is happening is that there is no problem at all. Don't you believe that it is encroachment of one's personal law? क्योंकि हमें तो छोटे से when we started studying law, we are always been taught that if there is a conflict between custom and law, custom always prevails. Because law is a recent gift. Custom has been in prevalence since a long period of time. Don't you believe that if I go on to implement UCC in the long run, ultimately my customary laws are being violated? If we read the definition of law under Article 13, Clause 3 of the Indian Constitution, it prescribes custom as one of the several sources of law. It prescribes custom as one of the form of law under Article 13, Clause 3. Don't you believe that implementing Article 44 is violation of Article 13, Clause 3?
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am, I do not.
What do you believe? Do you believe that Article 44 is superior or my fundamental rights are superior? What is your opinion?
Ma'am, according to me, कि fundamental rights are supreme, क्योंकि fundamental इसको अभी
ठीक है, आप तो बता रहे हैं कि फंडामेंटल राइट सुप्रीम है, तो फिर आर्टिकल 13(3) इज इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद आर्टिकल 44, तो आप किसको प्रायोरिटी में रखेंगे, आर्टिकल 44 को या फिर आर्टिकल 13(3) को?
I think 44.
But 44 is not mandatory in nature. It is optional. It is directory in nature. We have Minerva Mills judgment जहाँ पे बोला गया है there has to be harmony between fundamental rights and DPSP.
Okay.
How could you prioritize DPSP over fundamental rights? जो कोर्ट लागू ही नहीं कर सकता है, जो डिपेंड करता है एक देश के इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन पे whether that will be implemented or not at the end of the day.
क्योंकि जो मतलब कि यूसीसी है वो इन्फोर्स नहीं किया जा सकता कोर्ट के द्वारा.
हाँ,
इसलिए ओके मैम.
आपको कोई जजमेंट का नाम याद आ रहा है जो यूसीसी लेकर जिसने यूसीसी लेकर डील किया हो, लीडिंग केसेस?
मैम लिविंग केसेस तो no, not now.
Okay, thank you. But you need to do some homework properly. There are a lot of scope where you need to do homework. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so our fifth participant is Jayanto. Jayanto Minich. I don't think कि वो अभी है यहाँ पर प्रेजेंट. हम 1 मिनट के लिए सर उनका वेट कर सकते हैं. ओके सर.
हाँ, sure.
Okay, for sure. Our sixth participant is Khushi Kumari. Khushi Kumari. She is also not here. Divyanshu, should I wait for Khushi or? Okay. So our seventh participant is Mantasha. Mantasha, please open your mic and camera.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Uh, Good evening, the panel members and my competitors. So, I'd like to start my speech with a quote by Martin Luther King that says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The topic of my speech is UCC and the basic structure of conflict between equality and religious freedom. The question that arises from the first thing is, can equality and religious freedom coexist harmoniously in a diverse country like India? The answer could be yes and no. Today, we will explore the how UCC a proposal for unity in diversity intersects with the religious freedom. UCC, that is Uniform Civil Code, is being mentioned under part 4 DPSP and under Article 44 of our Indian Constitution. UCC resonates with the idea of one country and one rule. UCC has been in news since 2019 when the first petition was filed to implement UCC in our country. Countries like France and Turkey already have UCC, but uh, it is quite not possible, or you can say quite tough to implement UCC in a country like India, which is so diverse. There are so many religions present here. Basic structure, on the other hand, is certain fundamental principles, features that cannot be altered or destroyed through amendments by the parliament. Though parliament has right to amend any part of the constitution under Article 368, but after the case of Nanda Bharti case, it has been said that parliament can amend any part of the constitution except the fundamental structure of it, and court may intervene if parliament tries to uh, go against this rule. Uh, basic structure ensures change in constitution, but not at the cost of infringing the fundamental rights or the constitution basic structure. For example, in Minerva Mills case, 1980, SCA struck down constitutional amendment that curbed the court's power of judicial review and weaken fundamental rights. The conflict that arises to implement UCC in a country like India are the first is it conflicts with the fundamental rights from Article 25 to 28, which gives every citizen the right to practice, profess, and the freedom to practice their religion. But UCC is the implementation of uniform laws that goes on by replacing all the personal laws of the people of India, of different religious communities, into one law. Uniformity is seen in law as an interference in personal law. Some groups may have the concern that if UCC gets implemented, the minorities' rights can be infringed. For example, like maybe the laws from the majority community gets more advantage in the UCC laws, you can say, uh, and this could infringe the rights of the minority. This is also a concern, and but there is a case of Shaira Bano versus Union of India, 2017. It 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 stated that the laws that are unjust for in personal the personal laws may be amended if they are unjust. For example, in Shaira Bano versus Union of India 2017, triple talaq is being unconstitutionalized or has been declared unconstitutional, which is talaq-e-biddat. And this was some cases where Honorable Supreme Court has also reiterated that UCC is the need are Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India 1995, where court reiterated implementing UCC. And Muhammad Ahmad Khan
Time
versus...
is up.
Could you please give me one more minute? I'm about to finish.
No, your time is up. Your 5 minutes are over.
Okay. but I wanted to say the last line. So.
Rules
Okay,
are
no
rules for
issues.
everyone.
Okay, no issues. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. Mantasha.
Yes, sir.
The question is that you said that after Keshavananda Bharati, it was said that the parliament has the power to amend the entire constitution but cannot destroy the fundamental structure, what we popularly call as the doctrine of basic structure. My
Yes.
one simple question is that does amendment of the constitution is considered as law under the definition of law under Article 13 of the Indian Constitution?
Uh, yes, sir. You can say it.
Is it so? What does
Sorry,
Article 30? I'm saying that you said that the parliament has the power to amend the constitution but cannot destroy the basic structure. Do you
Yes.
believe that the amendment of the amendment is equals to law? Whether we are inserting,
Yes.
whether we are deleting, adding, subtracting, it is law. My question is that does the amendment of the constitution constitutes law under Article 13, Clause 3?
Uh, yes, sir. Like if the law has been made, then it will be.
But then we have Article
Amendment has
13
been-
clause. But then we have Article 13 clause 4, which says that all the amendments made for the Constitution does not constitute law under Article 13 clause 3, which has been added after I.C. Golaknath's case. Okay,
Sorry,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you. You have tried. Good.
Mantasha, one question.
Yes, sir.
You talked about UCC.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
just give me a brief ki what is the objective behind implementation of UCC?
The objective behind it's that in the whole of India there will be one law that will govern each and every community irrespective of their religion by replacing the personal laws.
Okay.
Whether it is Hindu marriage.
Why was it needed? Like, when did the government or the state felt like UCC is needed? In what matters specifically?
So
There was a. Please.
So I'll try to answer this question.
Okay.
Some of the matters or cases we can take that from the triple tarak one, that is
Okay.
Shaira Banu versus Union of India case. Triple tarak is been considered triple tarak, that is talaq bitter, is being considered unjust in personal laws also,
Okay.
and in the eyes of court also. So
Okay.
then one reason could be this, and the second one would be in the case of Muhammad Ahmad Khan versus Shah Banu Begum case. That is about the maintenance that the wife gets.
Okay.
And
So
third
it-
one could be the
Yeah, please.
third one could be the unjust practices in some community or religion that has been in their scripture since a very long time, like the division of caste, untouchability. So these all the unjust rules that has been in our personal laws will get eliminated, and a clear reasonable laws will be implemented in the whole of country. So I guess these could be the reasons for implementing UCC.
So then, how does it violates our right of freedom of religion to practice our religion?
Sir, it violates the freedom to practice our religion because we because in India every religion is being ruled by their personal laws. Like the Hindus will be ruled by their personal laws, Hindu Marriage Act,
Okay.
and I as a Muslim will be governed under the Muslim law or Sharia. So there could be some unjust rules or laws in my personal law also. Sorry, I forgot your question.
No issue.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so our 8th participant is Maria Firdaus.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Just a second. मजहब नहीं सिखाता है आपस में बैर रखना, हिंदू हो या मुस्लिम सबको है यहाँ प्यार रखना। रंग बिरंगे फूलों सा ये गुलशन है वतन का, हर दम की खुशबू में बसता है हिंदुस्तान अपना. A very good evening, respected dignitaries, esteemed members of the jury, and my fellow citizens. Today, I, Maria Firdaus, stand before you to address a matter of profound constitutional and cultural significance. On the foundation, India is not just a country. It's a civilizational promise built on the soul of diversity and the spirit of unity. It's the sacred land where Azan and Aarti rise in harmony, where Gurbani and church bells echo together, where diversity is not just celebrated but accepted. As per the 2011 census, India's religious composition is diverse, with 79.8% Hindus, 14.2% Muslims, 2.3% Christians, and 1.7% Sikhs, among others. Today, as we speak of the Uniform Civil Code, we must reflect, can true equality be born by sacrificing the freedom that defines who we are? Let the data speak. According to the Pew Research Center 2021, 84% of Indians say religion is very important in their lives, and 79% believe that respecting all religions is essential to being truly Indian. Isn't this the essence of Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat? Let us remember the words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It was not just freedom to worship, but freedom to live by our faith. This isn't a favor, but a fundamental right. In the historic Keshavananda Bharati case, the Supreme Court ruled that this freedom forms part of the basic structure of the Constitution, something even the Parliament cannot violate. The UCC proposes to replace all personal laws with one civil law for everyone. But my question is, can billion people, 9 major religions, and merely aid the nikah of a Muslim, the saptapadi of a Hindu, or the rituals of a tribal wedding? These are not just traditions, they are heritage. By enforcing one uniform code, we risk erasing the essence of what makes us Indian, our freedom to be different yet united. India's strength lies not in sameness but in integration. We wear different clothes, speak different. Let me ask, if we could fight the colonial rule without giving up our faiths, why must we now surrender them in the name of legal equality? We must also ask, is UCC really a development priority when millions of students lack access to quality education? When unemployment is at 46.3% as of 2021, and when India ranks 111th out of 125 in the Global Hunger Index. Should uniform laws be our biggest concern? True development, that is Viksit Bharat at 2047, means building an India that is not uniform. But 1 minute is left. An India that doesn't erase, where a tribal girl, a Muslim boy, a Sikh farmer, and a Jain monk all feel protected, not pressured. We are not against equality. We are for equality with dignity. We are not against progress. We are for progress with pluralism. In conclusion, I quote the poet Imran Pratapgarhi. Jab mere need a uniform civil code to become one nation, we already are. Thank you so much.
So I request judges, please give her a score. Okay, so our 9th participant is Muhammad Amir Siddiqui.
मेरी आवाज आप सभी तक पहुंच पा रही है? तो जैसा कि विषय आज यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड है और एक प्रश्न जो छोड़ा गया है, क्या ये बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर और जो हमारी धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता की आजादी है, इसके बीच किसी तरह कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पैदा करता है? 9 जुलाई 2021 में दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट की जस्टिस प्रतिभा जी ने यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की जरूरत महसूस करी थी और ऐसा पहली बार नहीं है कि इस विषय की जरूरत महसूस करी गई है, इस प्रावधान की जरूरत महसूस करी गई। कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली ऑफ इंडिया में डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर, एम.एन. मुंशी, मिन्नू मोसानी और हंसा जीवराज मेहता जी जैसे लोग लगातार इस मुद्दे के पसधर में रहे। इस जरूरत को महसूस क्यों करा जा रहा है? किसी भी रिफॉर्म की जरूरत तब महसूस करी जाती है जब किसी तरीके का लूप हॉल सिस्टम एग्जिस्ट करता हो। मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि मोहम्मद अहमद खान वर्सेस शाह बानो बेगम 1985 का जजमेंट आप देखिए, जिसमें वाई.वी. चंद्रचूड़ साहब चीफ जस्टिस थे। आप देखिए शाला मुगल वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया 1995। आप देखिए लिली थॉमस वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया 2000 का केस। आप देखिए जॉन वलटम वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया का केस 2003 का, जिसमें जस्टिस वी.एन. खरे शामिल थे। आप देखिए शायरा बानो वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया 2017 केस, जिसमें 3-2 का मेजॉरिटी से जजमेंट आया था। ये सारे केसेस हाईलाइट करते आए हैं कि जो लूप हॉल हमारे पर्सनल लॉज में एग्जिस्ट करता है। लेकिन मैं एक ऐसे विषय पर पहुंचना चाहूंगा कि जहां पर बड़ी बात हुई है कि कहीं ये हमारे धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता का वायलेशन तो नहीं है जो आर्टिकल 25 से लेकर आर्टिकल 28 में दिया गया है। मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि जो पर्सनल लॉज आज हमारे सामने मौजूद है, मेरे हाथ में हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट, इसके सेक्शन 2 के क्लॉज बी में और क्लॉज सी में डिफाइन है किस तरीके से जो बुद्ध, सिख, जैन है वो हिंदू कोड बिल के तहत गवर्न, और पारसी, यहूदी, मुसलमान, ईसाई, इनको हम इससे अलग रखते हैं। अब ऑलरेडी जो 3 समुदाय हैं वो हिंदू कोड बिल जैसे एक यूनिफाइड मैनर ऑफ लॉज में गवर्न होते हैं। मैं अगर खासतौर से मुसलमान धर्म की तरफ मूव करूं तो क्या ये जो पर्सनल लॉज जिसकी कोडिफिकेशन वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स के टाइम से शुरू हुई थी, इन्हें शरिया में से जोड़कर देखना सही होगा? ये सवाल मैं आपके बीच में छोड़ा, और वो सवाल में सिर्फ ऐसे नहीं छोड़ा। ये किताब मेरे हाथ में है, मोहम्मदन लॉ, इसको इकबाल अली खान के द्वारा रिवाइज करा गया है। इन्होंने भी इस बात को माना है और मौजूदा एक बड़े कानूनविद फैजान मुस्तफा जी ने इस बात को माना है कि सॉरी कोई इंटरप्शन हुई, जस्ट अ सेकंड, सॉरी एक कॉल आ गई। तो मौजूदा एक बड़े कानूनविद फैजान मुस्तफा जी ने इस बात को माना है कि इस्लाम में इस चीज का स्कोप छोड़ा गया है। कुरान में 200 के करीब आयतें कानून से और 80 के करीब आयतें फैमिली अफेयर से रिलेटेड हैं। तो इस चीज का स्कोप इस्लाम धर्म में छोड़ा गया है कि ह्यूमन वक्त के साथ इंसानों के पास ये राइट है कि वो अपने परिस्थितियों और जहां वो निवास कर रहे हैं उसके अनुसार अपने कानूनों को बदलें। तो जो कानून के लिए अरबी में लफ्ज भी आया है वो फिक आया है। तो मैं इस चीज को एस्टेब्लिश करने का प्रयास कर रहा हूं कि कहीं से भी जो
Only 1 minute is left. Sayyid Amir.
सॉरी फॉर द इनकन्वीनियंस, आई डोंट नो कैसे मैं लव हो गया।
Only 1 minute is left.
तो इस चीज को एस्टेब्लिश करने की जरूरत है कि क्या जो मौजूदा पर्सनल लॉज हमारे पास इस वक्त मौजूद हैं, क्या उनका सीधे तौर पर इस्लाम के बेसिक जो बिलीफ है उनसे लेना देना है। दूसरी चीज मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि यहाँ से इस चीज को आप एस्टेब्लिश कर सकते हैं कि ये किसी भी तरीके से धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता पर प्रहार नहीं है, और जब धार्मिक स्वतंत्रता पर प्रहार नहीं है तो फिर इसको बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर की वायलेशन के तौर पे देखा नहीं जाना चाहिए। लेकिन अगर ये बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर की वायलेशन नहीं है तो उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि इसमें कोई खामियां मौजूद नहीं। सबसे जरूरी होता है किसी भी कानून को लागू करने से पहले कि उस जनता का विश्वास मत जीता जाए। बहुत सारे सर्वेस करे गए हैं जिसमें ये बताया गया है कि हमने 95%, 67% रिस्पॉन्डेंट्स का मत हासिल करा है, लेकिन क्या हमें से इतने सारे पैनलिस्ट यहाँ मौजूद हैं, जजेस मौजूद हैं, क्या हमसे कोई पूछने आया है? क्योंकि ये कागजी बातें होती हैं। हमको ये